Did the Pittsburgh Steelers just mess up big time as the NFL has announced an 8-game suspension for cornerback Cameron Sutton? Well, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they signed cornerback Cameron Sutton to a contract earlier in the offseason. And they did this after some off-the-field issues that they knew that he was dealing with. He was signed by a contract last offseason to join the Detroit Lions on a 3-year, $33 million deal. But then, after 1 year into the contract, he dealt with off-the-field issues, and the Detroit Lions decided to cut him, release him because the off-the-field issues were just too much. But the Pittsburgh Steelers were following along with the story, doing their due diligence, checking in on him, and they decided to sign him to a 1-year minimum contract this offseason to bring him back into Pittsburgh. And now he has been suspended 8 games by the NFL because of those off the field issues. And now people are wondering, did the Steelers mess up big time or do they expect this? Well, let's cover the suspension first by the NFL towards Cameron Sutton, because it is an 8-game suspension and he'll be able to return after the Pittsburgh Steelers bye week in week 9. So basically, he'll be returning in week 10 and he'll only be able to play in 9 games. So the NFL suspended Cameron Sutton, reported by NFL Network's Tom Pelissero and Mike Garafolo, and they released the announcement Monday afternoon outlining the ban and suspension. Here's basically what the kind of quote was on the NFL's part. The NFL investigated the March incident involving Sutton and determined he violated the personal conduct policy. He'll be eligible for reinstatement on October 29th following the team's Week 8 contest against the New York Giants. But obviously, the Steelers have a bye week in Week 9, so he'll be able to come back for the game following that in Week 10. So, did the Pittsburgh Steelers mess up? Let's look at it from both perspectives, because you could look at it from an off-the-field perspective, and then you could look at it from a football perspective. And when you look at it from an off-the-field perspective, sure, you can see the Pittsburgh Steelers messed up big time. Sutton was charged with domestic battery earlier in the offseason for an alleged incident against his girlfriend. According to Advidit, Sutton said to have hit and choked her, that's per reports. And during the argument, Sutton picked up the woman and slammed her into the wall, then bit her neck, leaving a quarter-sized abrasion that bled, per Tampa Bay Times. Allegedly, Sutton then grabbed the woman by the face and neck and choked her, causing her to briefly lose consciousness, according to the article. Cameron Sutton fled police for 3 weeks while a warrant for his arrest was out. During that time, he was released by the Detroit Lions 1 year into the 3-year deal that he signed ahead of the 2003 season. So Sutton eventually turned himself in to police, and the felony charges were dropped, and he entered a kind of diversion program. The NFL's default policy for domestic violence is 6 games, but games can be added or subtracted based on the kind of factors going into the situation. Obviously, the league felt it was necessary to add 2 additional games to the suspension, and Sutton has the right to appeal, but apparently, per ESPN's Adam Schefter, Sutton will not appeal, making the 8-game suspension final. So that's what he dealt with in the offseason. And when you look at it, yes, you could say that Pittsburgh Steelers messed up. Because why would you sign someone who had allegedly done all those things? Why would you sign someone? Why would you wreck the team morale? Why would you wreck the team image and sign someone who allegedly done all those things? You could say the Pittsburgh Steelers messed up big time in that area, and some things are bigger than just football. But if you look at a football perspective, you could say the Pittsburgh Steelers messed up again. You could say, why would the Pittsburgh Steelers sign a guy from a football perspective that they're not going to have for basically 10 weeks? He'll only be available to play for week 10 to week 18, which means it's 9 games. He's suspended 8, but will be available for 8 games. And you could look at this and you could say, hey, Cameron Sutton, off the field, on the field, it just does not make sense as a signing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And why would Steelers be the team to take a chance on a guy who allegedly done all these things? So you could look at it from both those perspectives and say the Pittsburgh Steelers are in the wrong. But If you look at it from another football perspective, there's two football perspectives. This one is basically saying, hey, Cameron Sutton, he'll be able to participate with the team in the summer programs in terms of the training camps and the preseason games, but he won't be able to play in any regular season games until the suspension is over. But he'll also forfeit his paycheck. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, will they send to a 1.3 or $1.5 million contract this offseason, a minimum contract? But it's not like they're going to have to pay the entire contract out to him, because the first 8 weeks of the season, he's going to be forfeiting his contract, meaning that he will be on the team but without pay. So they won't have to pay the entire contract. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're basically getting from even less. And when you look at it, you look at the situation and you look at Cameron Sutton coming back, and the final kind of 9 games of the season is the most difficult time in the Pittsburgh Steelers schedule. They face basically every single team in their division twice, because they don't face any team in their division before their bye week. So after the bye week, they're facing their whole division 6 times. They're facing Kansas City as well. They're facing many difficult teams. This is the hardest part of their schedule. So getting more depth, getting a starter at the cornerback position back could be really helpful. Also, you look at this situation and signing Cameron Sutton. They get him for what? Less than $1 million based off all the suspension that he's losing all the money. They get him for less than $1 million. You get a starter in this league, someone who was at the best nickel slot corner position when he was healthy and last played it. So you get someone who got released and you get him on a minimum contract. So that could really be helpful for the Steelers if they're making a playoff push. So you're looking at the situation from both perspectives, and another football perspective is basically this. Hey, the Steelers probably knew that he was going to get suspended. You probably expect it. People with this issue in the past, like I said, 6 games. So they knew he was going to get suspended. They obviously knew what they were doing in signing him. Omar Khan, Mike Tomlin, Art Rooney, they knew what they were doing, what they were getting into. So they made the decision a football decision. And when you look at this, the Steelers needed help at the slot cornerback position for many seasons. The last few years, they had guys rotating in and out, but getting Cameron Sutton, who, like I said, when he last played nickel, was the best nickel cornerback in the league, could be really helpful. And Cameron Sutton as well, he could play outside, so he's versatile, and he could do multiple things for the Steelers. And when you think about this, it also kind of helps the Steelers if you look at it from this situation. If you look at it from this situation of, hey, the Steelers will be able to place Cameron Sutton on the suspended list, meaning that into the season, they get 9 weeks or 8 weeks to look at other players at the cornerback position. They would probably be able, if Cameron Sutton was not on the suspended list, they would have to cut someone at the end of the preseason to make this final 53-man roster without getting a chance to look to see actually how they play at the cornerback position, to see how good they are. But now, because of the suspension, they get to put Cameron Sutton on the list, carry him on the roster, but also get to take a closer look at someone else at the cornerback position, see how well they play, and then make the decision week 9 of who they want to keep. Instead of making that decision on which guy they would want to keep earlier into the preseason in terms of cutting, just say, for example, Beanie Bishop, just say he would have got cut at training camp. They would have got no looks to see how good he is in an actual NFL game. But now, because of Cameron Sutton being suspended, they get to keep Cameron Sutton on the roster, but also get to see how well Beanie Bishop plays, get to see how good kind of Corey Trice plays, and make a decision later in the season of which one of those guys they may want to cut from this team. But would they want to cut Cameron Sutton week 9? Who knows? They're going to have to make a cut eventually once that week 9 comes. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, this is basically a whole outlook of the decision. Do you think the Pittsburgh Steelers messed up big time in terms of the off the field issues? Why would they even sign a guy like that? Or do you believe they messed up because of the football reasons? Why would they sign a guy who's missing half the season? Or do you believe the other half of the football reasoning of Cameron Sutton? This is a good signing because he was a star in this league, and now he comes in for less than $1 million basically after the money loss in his contract. And the Pittsburgh Steelers were basically getting a cornerback that no one else wanted, but he's a starter type in this league, and it could really help them. Which side do you believe most? in terms of this whole perspective and this whole topic. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. But it's official, Cameron Sutton suspended 8 games by the NFL for his violation of policy. So, if you like this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for everything Pittsburgh Steelers news and updates. I cover everything Steelers related, whether that's highlights, analysis, breaking news, everything. I cover it all, and I'll continue to cover all with all highlights and analysis of training camp. So, like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. I'll see you guys all later. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.